Am I the asshole for turning around and going back to my parents with my baby when I got home because my husband let his homeless brother move in and everyone had lice? I recently went to see my parents with my newborn. It was just for the long weekend, so my husband stayed home with our 3 other children, 7, 5, 3. My husband called me when I was out of town to let me know his brother needed a place to crash. I said that he should give him a ride to a shelter or something because it was a bad idea to let his brother in our home. He has stolen from us before. When I got home, there were 5 very itchy people in the house. I immediately got back in my car and went to my parents' house. My husband was calling me the whole time because he needed help dealing with the lice. I didn't call him back until the baby was settled back in at my folks' place. I told him the pharmacy had the shampoo and comb for lice. He said he needed me to come home and take care of it. I noped. I said that he let his brother in our home against my wishes. His brother gave them all lice. I also reminded him that when our oldest got lice from kindergarten, he didn't help me at all. I hate lice. They freak me out. I dealt with it because I had to. This time, it's on him. He said that he would have to use up his sick days to take care of this. I said, tough. He did it. He took his brother to a shelter. He deliced himself and the kids, and then he spent 3 days cleaning all the bedding and the furniture. He called me every day begging for help. I did not come home until his mother confirmed that everything was done. He is pissed that I stuck him with all of that by himself. I know I should have helped, but it was too much. I'm still not 100% from having the baby. It was just too much. Am I the asshole?
Am I the arsehole for humiliating my mother-in-law at a family meal? Story time. So I've never really got on with my mother-in-law for the entirety of mine and Steve's relationship. Over the years, she has just said a lot of very, very childish and cruel things about me. Recently, I've just become exhausted with this woman. We've recently moved towns. I've got a different job. We've recently got married. And we're also looking to buy a house. So my mind is being taken up by lots of different things. So just for some context on what this woman is like, in the past few years, she has taken to ignoring me, both messages and in social settings. And then when we are in social settings, she will just talk right over the top of me. This is giving Phantom of the Opera. She just really enjoys pretending that I don't exist. So as a result, I've just mentally checked out the situation. And through ruining her relationship with me, she's also ruined her relationship with my partner as well. Now, don't get me wrong, I support whatever relationship my Steve wants to have with his mum, but I'm done trying to be this woman's friend. So recently we were at a dinner party and my mother-in-law starts asking when we're going to have kids. And when I say asking, I kind of mean more like interrogating. She's going over and over again about how she can't wait to have grandchildren and she's going to be such a great grandma. And this is something that she has not shut up about lately. Anytime we see her, it's like, when are the grandchildren coming? When are you going to get pregnant? La la la. And it's getting on my nerves, quite frankly. Now, don't get me wrong, my partner has asked her to stop several times, but she just keeps going. At a certain point in the night, I'd had a little bit too much wine and it really started to get to my head. And I snapped. That's the best word for it. I turned to this woman. I was like, what do you want to know about our private life, Sandra? I'll tell you. Do you want to know what kind of birth control I'm on? Do you want to know what time of day we're doing it? Do you want to know where we're doing it? I was like, do you want me to let you know what my ovulation tests are saying? I list them all. I went into using inappropriate language, crude language. I was being vulgar. I was giving detail. At one point, I even said to her, Sandra, have you actually got any tips for me? Or actually, Sandra, why don't you just come and watch? Make sure we're doing it right. Then she started crying and screaming at me and asking Steve why she's letting her partner speak to her like that. Me and Steve got up after this and left because there ain't no way I was sitting and divulging that conversation any longer. The next day, his aunties call and they're like, listen, she was a little bit out of order, took it a bit too far. We think she should apologise. No, I don't think I should, but you please let me know if you think I should. I also just wanted to add that I'm actually infertile and I know this, but I would never ever tell her that, to give her that as a weapon that she could use against me. So what do you think? Am I the arsehole?
Story time on my toxic childhood friend. Growing up, I had this best friend. We're gonna call her Libby. I met Libby in year 7, so I was 11 years old. It was at the beginning of year 7 and we became best friends like this. We did absolutely everything together and I was obsessed with her. Like, nobody had ever made me feel so special in my life. It was like the weirdest experience. So in either year 7 or year 8, her family actually ended up moving to the same street that I lived on. So naturally, we got so close. I've put so much of this on, oh my god. So we became friends with this group of boys pretty quickly, and soon I wasn't getting an invite out. And at this point, I think about 2 months had gone, where I was not allowed out when these boys were with my friends. And she used to tell me, she used to say, it's because they don't like you, they find you irritating, like they just don't really want to be around you, you talk too much, and like they just don't want you in our group. And so this obviously made me feel really, really uncomfortable. I was like 13 maybe. But then about 2 months later, she's like, you can come out with us, but you're not allowed to wear makeup at all. My OG followers, you guys will remember, like the thick eyebrows. I used to be very keen on makeup, etc. So it was a little bit of a culture shock for me, but I was like, no, I want to go out with these friends. I want to go out with these people. Like I want them to like me. So I'll just go. And oh my god, it was one of the worst experiences of my life. The whole time we were with these boys, I was the punchline. Every single time. And it got to the point where she would like, to make it seem funny, she would like hit me and like slap me really hard or like make up lies about me. Now this girl was like the sort of person that you wanted to be friends with. You either really wanted to or you really didn't. She was like Marmite. And I obviously really wanted to be friends with her, so I just put up with all of her bullshit for ages. When I say ages, I mean years, like 6 or 7 years of being on and off friends. And then she would start blaming me for things. So if she did something, it was my fault. Or like, if she fell out with someone, it was my fault. And then she would be fine with them, and I would be in absolute shit. And like, she was my best friend, bearing in mind. I would be added into group chats with like people literally just slamming me. And this was my best friend doing this as well. And at the time, she would just play it off after. She'd be like, no, like the girls just added you into it and I just stayed in there to like try and see if everything's okay. But she would be the worst one. Like she would be going for me. Don't get me wrong, like this girl wasn't all bad. Like when she's friends with you and she likes you, it is the most euphoric feeling. Like she makes you feel like you are the most important person, and because she's so horrible to everyone else, when she's nice to you, it is such an ego boost. It got to the point where she was commenting on my body weight so much and calling me fat all the time, even though I was smaller than she was, that I just stopped eating. And then at this point that I stopped eating, I started losing more and more weight. And by this point, in her eyes, I was anorexic. So she started commenting on stuff like how small my arms looked, how disgusting and bony I was, how my collarbones were like really prominent. And she just said I looked ill and emaciated. So I started wearing collar necks, like turtlenecks. And I wore these for about 8 months. I didn't take them off. It was summer and I was in a like long sleeve, long rolled turtlenecks. Like my nickname from her was literally Miss Piggy, because she said I look like a pig. But that's genuinely not even the worst of it. The worst of it is when I got ill and I was admitted to hospital. I started getting texts from people in my school saying, why are you faking? It's really disgusting what you're doing. Can't believe you would do something like this. And then the bombshell hit. This girl had gone around the school and told people that my mum had cancer and I was pretending it was me for attention. You cannot make this shit up. I wish I was joking. I didn't know this at the time. So this girl was visiting me whilst I was in the hospital, whilst I was extremely underweight and malnourished and fatigued, and she was coming in to visit me and play games with me in the game room while she was telling everyone that my mum had cancer and I was pretending it was me for attention. And then I get added into another group chat and I am being attacked. I am genuinely being brought through the gutter. In my life, I am 19 years old now. In my life, this was probably the worst I had ever felt. These girls were saying things like, I wish you would get cancer so that like you could be paid back for like what you're doing. I can't even remember half of it because it was quite traumatic, but it was horrible, like horrible. And at this point, this girl is adding me into all these group chats, but I'm stupid enough to like not think that she has as big of a problem with it. So she's still coming to visit me in the hospital. I basically told the whole school that I pretended to have cancer whilst I was in hospital, which is a little bit bizarre, but you do you, babe, you do you. And then so we obviously fall out because of this, because I found out probably about 7 months into being in hospital, and then I was discharged from hospital and I went home, and my dumb ass, I'm genuinely not even joking, I became friends with her again. I wish I was kidding, I don't know why, but we ended up becoming friends. And then, so her boyfriend at the time, I'd known him since I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I was obviously off school because I wasn't well. One day when I was off school, I was having a cigarette outside of my house with him. I was a kid that smoked. Terrible, I know. Anyway, and her sister drives past, and she says that she's seen her boyfriend in my bedroom with me, even though A, you can't see into my bedroom because you just can't see in, and B, no. Anyway, so obviously we fall out, and she's like, you're a slag, you fucked my boyfriend, like, you're done. Even though like her boyfriend had literally tried it on with me so many times, and I was like, no, because you're not a bit of me, babe. Yeah, aim for me. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Fall out because of this, because I mean, who wouldn't? And then I go up to her house to get my stuff, because we were the sort of friends that like shared everything, and I was like, I want to come get my stuff, and she was like, yeah, mum said you can come up, come and get it. I knock on the door, her mum answers. Her mum had no idea I was coming, and you're not even prepared for the things that this 50-year-old woman was screaming at me on the street. She was calling me a whore, she was calling me a slag, she was like, you fake your illness, she was like, there was so many things. Let me just try and think. Let me just try and conjure up. I got called a vile cretin. A vile cretin. By a 50-year-old woman, and I'm genuinely not even joking. Like, whore, slag, all got thrown at me. It was a weird situation. Anyway, so my best friend who had driven me up, like her boyfriend had driven me up, and then we get in the car, we all leave, and I never spoke to her again. They also accused me of like stealing her stuff. A, I don't steal, B, her stuff wasn't nice enough to steal, do you know what I mean?
So I'm officially grounded for 2 weeks. Story time. Okay, so it all started when I met this like gorgeous man on Snap, which like, I'm sorry, isn't weird because it's 2024 and we use our phones to meet people anyways. Ocean. So I meet this guy on Snap and we decide to get together, which by the way was like super hard to plan because he lives in a different state than me anyways. So like we decide to meet because we're obviously vibing, and everyone knows like the guys at my school are just like, and I know what you guys are thinking. Oh my God, Haley, stranger danger, don't talk to him. But like I already did basically a background check because you have access to all of those things on the internet. So like, stop. So like we planned this day where I'm going to skip school and I'm going to meet up with him in this one like mall parking lot. And I don't know, it was just going to be really fun. Plus like school is so boring right now and I'm not even learning anything. Ugh, concealer. We planned this whole day and we're going to go get like coffee and we're going to go, I don't know, to like dinner, or like maybe I told him that I wanted to see the Mean Girls movie. So like maybe we could go there. Anyways, I don't know. It's just like we planned a really fun day. Of course, we're like snapping each other and telling each other like where we're going to meet and all the details and all of this stuff. But then I learned that my mom has access to my Snapchat account. Like she was literally logged into my Snapchat, like invasion of privacy much. I thought that was like my Fifth Amendment right or something. I seriously need to talk to like the US government. And it's not like I even care that my mom knows because like what is she going to do? I had a problem when she went and told my dad. So like out of nowhere yesterday, I hear my dad just start screaming. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, what did he find? Like what happened? Who died? I come downstairs and I'm like, what? And do you know what I see? Somehow my dad had like printed out these chat logs from Snapchat, which like I thought Snapchat disappeared, so what? But yeah, I guess they saved the data and like my dad somehow like has the power to access it. And so he had all of our freaking chat logs just like on his desk. I was literally so embarrassed. But like not because I did anything wrong, because my dad was reading my like messages. So he yells at me and tells me I'm grounded because I was gonna meet some stranger off of the internet. Like he thinks his daughter is stupid. The only thing I can go to is like school, which sucks. But yeah, hopefully when I'm ungrounded, I can finally meet this guy.
Stopped comparing myself to rich people after I tutored their kids. For reference on wealth, one of my clients was so rich they had a walk-in fridge in their mansion. At the time, I was driving this beat-down, raggedy Honda from mansion to mansion in the hills because that's all I could afford with the cash I had saved up as a hostess. And one day, my car broke down on me. When I got it looked at, they said it would be about $1,500 to fix, and my heart sunk because I did not have that money. It would take me at least 2 months to save that at that time. So I called my most frequent client and told her, hey, I'm sorry, I won't be able to drive up to your mansion today because my car broke down and I need some time to save to fix it. She was quiet on the phone, and after like a very long minute pause, she was like, just come anyway and we'll talk about it, and I'll fix your problem. I don't know what to expect. I'm thinking maybe she's gonna Uber me to her mansion on the hills every day. Maybe she's gonna let me borrow one of their 10 cars. Like, I don't know. My car was struggling to make it up the hill to her mansion. Once I finally got there, she sat me down, looked me in the eyes and said, I'm going to give you an advance because my son will not pass the 8th grade without you. Which was true. They kept going on international vacations and I was writing all his essays and submitting all these final projects. She wrote me a check for $1,500, gave me a referral for her husband's mechanic, said that he would give me a discount because they referred me. And this whole time, I'm so grateful. Like, I'm holding back tears in my eyes because as she's telling me all this, my client, her 8th grade son, is watching. So after all my, oh my God, thank you so much, she turns to her son and say, you see, son, this is why we need to help people like her. This is why we have money. Some people can't even afford to fix their cars, and you should be grateful that you are as privileged as you are. And they both turned and gave me such a look of pity that I had to excuse myself and go cry in the restroom. Because this car was my livelihood. Like, she was not my only client, and I was in college at the time. If I didn't have a car, I couldn't get to my classes. She was only helping me because she needed me to tutor her son to pass the 8th grade. And then she used me as this real life example of, look at the poors. So helpless and fragile. It's our responsibility to help them. Beggars can't be choosers. I needed a car, so yes, I let her take the $1,500 out of my next paychecks, and I just kept tutoring her son. I kept tutoring her son for about 3 years, and at the end, she didn't send me my last paycheck during COVID because she forgot or they were on vacation or whatever. I spent at least 10 hours a week in their home for 3 years straight, helping their son get through each grade, and in the end, I meant nothing to her. She couldn't even be bothered to send me my last paycheck. This is also why I don't listen to career or financial advice from rich people who have always been rich, because they just don't know and they never will, even if it's right in front of them.
You need to gatekeep your baby's name. This was one of the best decisions I made during pregnancy. We did not tell anybody Camp's name until the day he was born. I'm kind of lying. My mom knew his name because she's the one who gave me the idea, and then we did tell our immediate family. So my parents knew, his parents knew, and then both of our siblings. I don't know what overcame me while I was pregnant, but unsolicited advice and opinions were not welcome. The last thing I needed was someone looking at me sideways when I told them my baby's name. Tristan would always talk to my belly and call him Cam, but I just couldn't do it. I only referred to him as baby boy or baby. Let's be real, my pregnant belly did not look like Camp. I'm also a really indecisive person, so I was worried that if I called him by his name my entire pregnancy, I would end up hating it by the end. When he came out the womb, he definitely looked like his name. Not that I have anyone close to me that would do this, but I've heard horror stories of people stealing other people's baby names. It was an open book during my pregnancy, and everyone knew everything, so saving his name until birth was super special for Tristan and I. I'll definitely be doing that again with my future babies. Thankfully, our family and friends were super respectful of us not sharing his name. I'm the worst at keeping secrets, so I'm honestly proud of myself for really not telling anyone. I was never the girl who had a list of baby names in her notes, so when it came to picking out a name, I was lost. I really like when names sound good with last names, and Craddock is kind of a hard name to sound cute with other names. So that was a huge roadblock for me for a while. Once we landed on a C or K name, it was much easier to narrow it down. There's an influencer named Kristen Horton, I think that's her name. I didn't follow her at the time, but my mom is a super big fan of her, and she has a son named Campbell, and they nicknamed him Camp. So when my mom told me the name, I was like, yep, that's it. Not too outlandish, not too basic, and I love one syllable. My name has 3 syllables, and I literally hated saying my name in school because of it. The one syllable was definitely a vibe for me. Then, of course, we had to choose a middle name. And personally, I just don't see the point in middle names unless they, have something to do with family. My middle name is after my grandpa Wright, who passed away a few weeks before I was born. So my name is Kennedy Wright Craddock, and Camp's name is Camp Wright Craddock. I'm interested to know if you shared your baby's name before they were born. And if you did, do you regret it? Did you have someone that made you second guess it? And if you didn't, are you gonna gatekeep your baby's name again with your next pregnancy? Now that Camp's here, I love his name and I don't care what anyone thinks about it. While I was pregnant, I was a little sensitive Sally, and if someone didn't like his name, I might have second guessed it. So that's the story on Camp's name and why we decided to gatekeep it. Wow.
Am I in the wrong for kicking out my sister-in-law for spreading true rumors about my marriage? I'm male 32 and my sister-in-law, female 18, is living with my wife, female 27, and I while she attends university. She has a partial scholarship and we let her live here so that her family can save money. My wife was injured severely in a fall while hiking 2 years ago. Unfortunately, she lost all the use of her limbs. I love my wife very much and I will never divorce her. We have 2 very young kids that need us both. Also, my work provides us with medical insurance, which obviously is very important to us. The crux of the matter comes down to intercourse. My wife cannot have intercourse. Not any kind. There are medical reasons. No, I won't get into that. About 1 year after her accident, my wife was feeling very down. She was in a very dark place. She thought I was going to leave her and go be with someone else. I didn't have anyone else on the side. I also had no time. I was working, taking care of 2 kids, and assisting in her care. I literally had no time to do anything like that. Anyway, it led to a fight that led to me admitting that I still had physical needs that weren't being met by my quick wank in the shower. Before you ask, yes, we're both in therapy. This has been a situation that neither of us imagined when we met. Long story short, my wife finds me a woman that I sleep with and have zero emotional attachment to. I don't go looking for women and I don't tell my wife what to do. When she decides that I need it, she makes an arrangement. It's not perfect. It's not what I want. I want my wife to be healthy again. I want to hold her. I want to be with her. But that's never going to happen. It was a private decision that we made together, and as far as I'm concerned, it should have stayed private. My sister-in-law moved in with us in September to start university. She helps out around the house and with the kids. In return, she lives in our basement suite and I give her some spending money. She doesn't work hours a day or anything. She might watch the kids while I make dinner, or she'll work in my wife's garden. One of the nights that I was going out as arranged, my sister-in-law was supposed to watch the kids. Instead, she got one of her friends to watch them and she followed me. She saw me go meet a woman and go up to a hotel room. She took pictures. Rather than talk to her sister about it, she decided to wait until Christmas when we had our family dinner to confront me with evidence in front of everyone. I was pissed. My wife was furious and embarrassed. My in-laws were getting ready to kick my ass until my wife spoke up and explained everything. Nobody was really okay with it, but it wasn't what they thought. But now, everyone knows something that's very private about us and that we didn't want publicized. I talked to my wife about it and her sister is no longer welcome to live with us. She's having to commute from her parents' home almost 2 hours each way. Tough shit. She could have talked to us about it. She could have confronted me. She could have talked to her sister. Instead, she chose to be a hero and tell everyone something that was never meant to be public. She's begging us to come back because now she has no social life because she's traveling 3 to 4 hours a day. Her parents are offering to rent the basement, but we don't want her here. So, am I in the wrong?
Am I the asshole for refusing to listen to my mother-in-law's speech on my wedding? So I hate speeches. I never understood the appeal. I think they are boring, exhausting, and very, very forced.
What?
But having said that, this is just my opinion and I never forced it on anyone.
Fair.
I have sat through long, excruciating speeches without complaining, like any other decent human being. When it was my turn to get married, however, I requested no speeches. We wrote that we loved everyone and that we knew they loved us. So if you wanted to say something, say it directly to us in private. My husband thought it was funny, but he knew my feelings about speeches. We had a small wedding with only loved ones, a weekend long. My husband loves games, so the wedding planner did a really great Taskmaster type of game, and everyone appreciated it. Dinner came, and mother-in-law stood up and started by saying, quote, "I know we are forbidden to make speeches by the bride, but this is my only son getting married, so I will say what I want to." I didn't hear the rest because I was seeing red. My sisters and bridesmaids were shocked. I pretended like she wasn't talking and continued my conversation with my girls.
Oh my God.
They did the same. Mother-in-law was furious. Both sister-in-laws were furious, and my husband was very angry that it showed in his profile. He refused to even look at me. The rest of the night was awkward. My husband's side was sulking in their seats. I wanted to make sure it wasn't ruined for the rest of us, and we ended up having a blast. Next day, I spent it with my family and friends. My husband said that I was very wrong in what I did. I couldn't force mother-in-law to shut the fuck up, and he knew she wouldn't no matter how much we told her. I shouldn't have disrespected and humiliated her like this. Our marriage started on the wrong foot, it seems. Am I the asshole?
Why are doctors always trying to induce you for no reason? Like, I'm so annoyed. I freaking just went to my appointment. I am 39 weeks and 5 days, so I'm not due until 2 days. First thing they talk about is induction. Like, I told y'all so many times I don't want to be induced. I don't understand why this is a topic that keeps constantly being brought up. I had a doctor on Friday. She was amazing. She understood that, and she said I can go to 41 weeks. She's my baby is healthy, right? You just gotta make sure you keep up with the test. Why is this doctor talking about inducing me? And she comes in talking about, we're very worried about you. And I was like, why? And she was like, because you're coming up on your 40 weeks. Aren't you supposed to go to 40 weeks? Isn't the ideal date for your pregnancy supposed to be 40 weeks? Isn't that considered full term? Why is it such a problem when you were about to hit 40 weeks? Like, I don't understand. My baby is healthy. I am healthy. And they try to bring up the fact that I'm at risk of like gestational diabetes, but everything has been in order and everything has been fine with my numbers and stuff. So that makes no sense at all. And they start talking about how the bigger your baby gets or whatever, the further along you go, the more complications you have and the possibility of emergency section. What? I'm not even at 40 weeks yet. Like, I understand if I was like pushing 41, I would be so down for a freaking induction, but I'm not. Like, let me make it to 40 weeks. Like, I thought that's what we're supposed to do here. Why do you hit? They already offered it when I was 38 weeks. And I did end up scheduling an induction, but for a few days after I'm 40 weeks. Because at that point, like, I'm finally trying to get him out when I pass my due date. But not before my due date. Like, you guys are annoying. And then I tell them, like, I don't want to do it because her contractions hurt more. And everybody knows, like, I don't want to get epidural. Like, I want to try my best not to get epidural. And so why would I do anything that can possibly make my fucking birthing experience worse or more painful, pushing me to possibly get it? And not only that, I'm not dilated or anything. So they're talking about how I need to get meds and everything to dilate me before even doing the IV of Pitocin to push the contractions. So I'm just putting a bunch of shit in my body that is not what I planned for, like, at all. And I'm just annoyed because I feel like they don't fucking listen to you. I don't know. I was just really upset. Like, that appointment pissed me off. It just pissed me off. I just want the other doctor. Like, I don't know why I didn't have her today. And for my next pregnancy, like, I'm not going to do this type of OB style where I have a bunch of OBs. I wanted to do that for my first one because I wanted to keep my options open. I didn't know anything and I wanted to get different opinions and just go through the process of just having multiple doctors. But for my next pregnancy, like, nah, we're not doing that. I'm going to find an OB that respects what I like and what I want and just stick with her because that's ridiculous. Yeah, when I told them, like, I don't want to do it because I heard it hurts more, they're like, well, it hurts regardless. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Okay. And then what is the problem with, like, when you don't want epidural? What is the problem with people? I don't understand why you don't want epidural. I don't understand why you want to go through the pain. I don't understand why you don't want epidural. How about that? Like, why can't people just respect the fact that, like, not everybody wants to be pumped with fucking drugs, especially when there's so many complications that happen. I don't want to take any risk with anything that's going to bother me or any problems with epidural. God has made our body to literally give birth to children. A little temporary pain for a lifetime of a blessing is really not... That's enough for me to not want all that extra stuff. We're gonna switch the mood up. I'm gonna make dates today. And I think I'm just gonna pump my boobs or do nipple stimulation tonight or something. Because at this point, like, I don't want to be induced. So I'm gonna just do whatever I can possibly do to just give birth. Because I have a few days before they try and induce me. But the day that I chose to get induced, I'm fine with, because that's, like, after my due date. But, like, I don't understand them trying to induce me before.
Am I wrong for giving my child the same name as my friend's stillborn baby? I, 26 female, am currently 7 months pregnant, and a few weeks ago we found out that we were having a little girl. My husband, 28 male, and I had already decided on what to name our baby depending on the gender, and upon finding out that she was going to be a girl, we announced that we would name her Adeline. I first heard of this name when I was a kid and thought it was beautiful, and decided that if I ever had a daughter, I would name her Adeline. After hearing this, one of my friends, 27 female, who I had been close with since we were in university, began acting distant towards us. Throughout my pregnancy, I have tried to be sensitive to her feelings, as I knew it was a sore point for her. 2 years ago, she tragically lost her baby girl to a stillbirth. I can't even begin to imagine how heartbreaking this must have been for her, and I made sure I supported her through this devastating loss. Despite her trauma, she has never been anything less than kind and empathetic towards me, up until that day. A couple of weeks later, she confronted us, suggesting we change the name of our baby, to which we rebuffed. She kept on trying to convince us, suggesting different names or saying Adeline was too old-fashioned or that it wouldn't suit our child. We kept on denying to change her name until eventually my friend started crying and revealed that Adeline was the name she had chosen for her stillborn baby. When she was pregnant, she refused to tell anyone her baby's name, and she wanted it to be a surprise for when she was born. After the stillbirth, she decided she would keep the name to herself because it was personal to her, to which we understood. Until recently, no one knew what her baby was going to be called. She claims that by keeping our name, we are disrespecting the memory of her baby. She said that if I chose the same name then, my daughter would be a living reminder of what could have been. I completely understand her grief, but I believe I should have the right to name my own child without being burdened by someone else's trauma. So, am I the asshole?